What a pleasure it is to be here. I had the great privilege of traveling here to Israel in 2013 with a bunch of teachers. And in that project, we learned about Israel, past, present, the struggles of that your country faces, and why it's important for our countries to be connected. And then we took that back into classrooms to help our students to understand that. And I've been waiting for an opportunity to be able to bring our kids connected to you. And so we're so excited to be part of this project, and we're deeply grateful, and I personally am deeply grateful. And in 2013, when I came here, I spoke at, let me say it, Givatayim, is that right? Givatayim, dang. I spoke at Givatayim Observatory in 2013 about the NASA mission that I'm connected to. And so to be back here again is like a dream. So I want to talk to you a little bit about why do difficult stuff or challenging stuff. So I'd like to tell you a couple stories, and then I'd also like to ask you some questions. So if you can just go on this journey with me. So the question I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you to talk to each other, is what is the most difficult or challenging thing that you've ever done in your entire life? Okay, so go ahead and talk to someone next to you. Adults, you have to play too. Ready, go. All right. Go ahead and come back to me, please. So, I want to talk to you because you're young, and I think this might be one of the most important things for you to think about. And rather than tell you like all the really cool stuff that we're doing or that I've been involved in, I'm really hoping that there'll be something that you can take away from this. I want to talk to you a little bit about some three of the top most difficult things I've ever done. And the first one is being the mama of 4 sons. So my 4 sons, yes. Now this was quite a while ago. When I was little, I came from a family that went through a lot of difficulty. There was alcoholism in my family, and divorce, like twice. And we didn't have a lot of money. When I was little, I remember when I was in about 3rd grade wearing my brother's hand-me-down clothes, and they didn't fit me, and he was older than I was. And I don't regret that. That's part of who I am, and it helped me to be who I am. But it made me not want to be a mom, because I was afraid that I might do to my kids, possible kids, you know, as I was thinking about it when I was like your age, I'm never going to be a mom, because I was afraid. What if I do to them what was experienced by me? But I can tell you that when I did finally start having kids, it's one of the best things about me. And such a challenge to raise 4 boys with my wonderful husband. And I grew so much from that. And I overcame that fear. And being a mom taught me, oh, if I can take care of them, I can do a lot of other things. So when we do something hard, when we do something really challenging, it gives us information about who we are, so that in the next event, we can do the next hard thing that's even more challenging. So fast forward, and by the way, my boys are all grown up now, and they're all out of the house. Sweet! And because of that, I get to do some really cool stuff. When I was a mom and raising them, I never would have been involved in the kinds of things I'm involved in now with iLEAD. With iLEAD, I get to develop STEAM-type projects, and because I'm connected to aerospace, I tend to go to aviation and space-related projects. And so I get the greatest job, I think, in the world. I get to help create projects and then run them with kids. And so this is our new one, Science Accelerator with you guys, that we're really excited about. So the next thing I'm going to fast forward to that was a pretty challenging thing to me was I was teaching, and at that time I taught middle school. So middle school is, do you call it middle school?
No.
Yes. Junior high? Junior high. What's the word? Okay. So that was just a little while ago, right? If you teach junior high, you're a special beast because junior high kids are difficult but I love them. So I was teaching math and science junior high, and I was looking for ways to bring real stuff into my classroom. Because when I would just sit and teach, I could bore myself. So instead, I was always looking for ways to do hands-on projects. So across my email came the opportunity to apply as a teacher to be a NASA Airborne Astronomy Ambassador. I'm going to be honest, when I applied for it, I didn't even know what it was. But it said NASA, so I was like, okay, I'll apply for that. And I applied for it, and I had to have, recommendations for people, and I was selected. So I was one of the first 6 teachers in America that got to fly on this aircraft. So this aircraft is a 747. How many of you have been on a large 747? Okay. Do you remember, do you guys know the shuttle? Yeah, the shuttle that would go to the moon? Yes? No? Yeah. I mean, not to the moon, to the space station? No? All right, never mind. Okay, so this plane right here, they take all the guts out of it, all the seats, and then they cut a large hole in the side of the plane. Who thinks that's a good idea, to put a hole inside of a plane? Mid-flight, the door opens. And inside where that door area is a 10-foot infrared camera, telescope, and a camera device connected to it. Now, why would infrared be a good thing to use or an interesting thing for NASA to use when you're looking up into space? Let me say it again. Why would infrared, so think of Tony Stark, Iron Man, night goggles, night vision, why would infrared be an interesting way when we actually have telescopes that use regular light? Okay, quickly, talk to each other. Why would infrared be better? All right, who thinks they know? Okay, big voice.
In the space, there is no light. The light is not spared in the air. So you kind of need like night vision.
Okay, that's a good thinking, but we use regular light, right, from the Earth to look up. But that's a good thought. You're starting to think it through to use night vision. Who has another idea? That was good. Is infrared stronger? That's a good guess too. That's a good guess. Who has another idea? Yeah?
I think I'm mistaken, but and I think that 60s they've proven that the universe is expanding, and when the universe expands, the wavelengths get larger, and towards infrared and radio light, so we use infrared to achieve those types of galaxies. Okay, well, first of all, bravo. I loved how you said I might be wrong, but I'm going to guess anyway. Well done. And then I really liked your thinking about that you're starting to think about there's different bands of light, because, right, we have X-ray. What else do we have? UV, gamma, micro, right? So it turns out that those lights have a different way to give us information about the stars and the planets. So you can look at something in one band of light and it gives you information, and in infrared it gives you another information. So actually they can look at things with infrared, and they can use a spectrometer to get an idea of actually what the composition of that star is, or the composition of that planet. So it's another way to look things. The other reason NASA uses this particular aircraft, John Berger, why? I asked him this earlier. I set him up. Do you like the way I did this? I asked Mr. Berger, why do you think NASA would spend a lot of money? Why? Because it's big?
We like big things. Yes.
That's not the reason why. Ellen, do you have an idea?
Not yet.
Okay, so
So here's the reason why. When we launch things up, like Hubble, right? Do you remember Hubble telescope is up there already? And what are we about to launch in a little bit? What's the new one? James Webb. James Webb. Give that man a good job. I have a sticker for you. James Webb is about to go up. When we have to launch something like that, it takes many, many, many years to develop that and then to launch it. So let's think about this. How many iterations of your smartphone have you already owned?
What?
I'm sorry. How many different smartphones have you owned? How many? 4? 3? Right? Okay. You have 5 because you're special. Lots, right? So think about this. Think about this. I'm waiting because I'm just waiting. I'm doing a teacher thing. Think about this. You buy a phone and then like 6 months later, the new one's out. So the good thing about this particular mission is that it goes up and it leaves about 6 o'clock at night and it flies all night long. So we call it Vampire Crew because literally you have to stay up all night long. And honestly, it's hard. And so the good thing about this one is it can come back down, and as technology is updating, they can update that. Versus if you go to James Webb, when there's a mistake, the astronaut has to go all the way up there, or if there's something wrong with it, they have to be blasted up, and that costs a lot of money and danger to go fix that. So let me go back to this. Are you with me? Okay. So I'm a 7th grade teacher. And I don't know a lot about science, because here's the truth about me. When I was growing up, if you would have asked me, do you think you'll ever be a pilot? Or do you think you'll ever be involved in space? I would have laughed at you, because I was not very interested in it. And I avoided science classes with every part of me. I was into literature, and I did not like math, and I did not like science. So it's kind of interesting that now I'm a pilot and I'm doing what I'm doing. So when I applied for this program, I was teaching young people, and I didn't know a lot about this mission, and all the other teachers knew a lot. They were physics teachers, astronomy teachers, they had doctorates, and here I was, a little 7th grade teacher that knew hardly anything. But here's the cool thing about me. So that was very hard, because actually I was nervous that I didn't know enough. But here's the good thing about me. I don't have a problem asking someone why. I don't have a problem just being honest. I don't understand that. Can you say it in a different language? Can you say it in a different way? Because these kind of people, NASA type people, they talk in a language that's all their own. Engineer types, science types, they talk in a different language. And so I would just say, can you help me understand that? Because no one else in the world talks your language except you. This mission right here was the 4th mission I flew with them. This right here is a former NASA astronaut, and I had to stay up all night and talk with him. The great thing about it is in the beginning, the scientists were talking. When the scientists were talking, I said nothing. I just listened. Then they ran out of stuff to say. But I'm pretty chatty. So we ended up talking for hours about why did you become an astronaut? And I got to ask him questions that scientists wouldn't ask, because scientists think like scientists, and I think like a communicator. So it turns out that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But from that now, I am never nervous to talk to people who seem to be like really important, because I know that they're just people. So that's another thing that I did that was challenging. And here's the last thing. 5 years ago, we decided that we wanted to teach kids about physics through flying gliders. Do you know what a glider is? Raise your hand if you know what a glider is. Can someone explain what a glider is in a big voice? Go ahead and say it in Hebrew first and then go to, what's a glider?
זה כמו כזה מצנח כזה שדועים איתו באוויר.
The world talks your language except you. This mission right here was the 4th mission I flew with them. This right here is a former NASA astronaut, and I had to stay up all night and talk with him. The great thing about it is in the beginning, the scientists were talking. When the scientists were talking, I said nothing. I just listened. Then they ran out of stuff to say. But I'm pretty chatty. So we ended up talking for hours about why did you become an astronaut? And I got to ask him questions that scientists wouldn't ask because scientists think like scientists and I think like a communicator. So it turns out that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But from that now, I am never nervous to talk to people who seem to be like really important because I know that they're just people. So that's another thing that I did that was challenging. And here's the last thing. 5 years ago, we decided that we wanted to teach kids about physics through flying gliders. Do you know what a glider is? Raise your hand if you know what a glider is. Can someone explain what a glider is in a big voice? Go ahead and say it in Hebrew first and then go to, what's a glider? Okay, good. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Okay. So a glider is an aircraft with no what? No engine. No engine. So how does it go up?
By air.
Another airplane takes it.
Another airplane takes it up. So you get behind an airplane that has an engine, small one, and it's connected by a very strong string, a rope, and up goes the other plane, and you fly the aircraft behind the other plane, and then when it gets high enough, we release that rope, and then the glider flies, and eventually gravity brings it back down. So my husband is a pilot, and we created this project for kids to learn about physics through aviation. And they learn about all the control surfaces, and they learn about, gravity and lift and all those things connected to flight. My husband said to me, Kath, some of your kids aren't going to want to fly in a glider, or their parents will say no. So we need to create some videos of someone flying because we want all the kids to know how do you speed up, how do you slow down, how do you turn, how do you land, how do you take off? And I said to my husband, that is an awesome idea. Go make the videos. And he goes, oh no, you're the teacher. You got to make the videos. So here's the truth. I'm afraid of heights, and I was really, really, really afraid of getting in a glider. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I was like a 9. But because I'm a teacher, I got in the glider, and we shot videos, and they're on YouTube, about how to speed a glider up, how to slow down, how to do all those things. So then I fell in love with it. And it took me a while, but just last year, I got what's called in America, do they call it the same thing here? Private pilot?
No.
Yeah. I got my private pilot rating, and now I can actually fly by myself in a glider. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. In fact, it challenged me to the core. And several times during that journey, I said to myself, no, this is too hard. No, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can fly an aircraft by myself. I don't think I trust myself, and I had to learn so much pilot language to be able to do this. But here's the thing that I did. I thought about all the kids that I'm working with, and I thought about the projects that we're running, and I thought about the young female and young male kids. Some of them are 14 and 15 that are right now getting their pilot's license because they came through our project. And I said, no, I can overcome that. I can do this hard thing if I want to. So now my question is to you this. What stops people from doing hard or difficult stuff? All right, talk to each other. What stops people from doing difficult stuff? Okay, come back to me, and let me just say, you are being amazing group. Let me speed up. So, the reason I'm talking with you about this is because every one of us has our own particular brand of genius. Scientifically speaking, there will never be anyone like you, ever, in the history of ever. So you only have the ability to bring your particular brand of genius and interest and kindness and love to the world. You only. You only have the opportunity to make a difference right in your circle of influence. And it might be a small, very small impact, or it might be huge, depending on who you are. But every one of us is required or not to do that. Every one of us can just fritter away our life, or every one of us can step up and do hard stuff, which will allow us to do more things that are difficult. Because if you look at people who have influenced the world, they have done hard stuff. So here are my ideas of why I think people don't do hard stuff. And you'll see which one of these you agree with. One of them is, I'm afraid of failing. I don't want to do hard things because it terrifies me to fail. That's the reason some people don't do. Sometimes people don't do hard things because they're addicted to distraction. And I'm going to say to you that this is going to be one of your biggest challenges in your life. Because right now, the way that technology is developed, we know this. It's developed to give you a dopamine hit. Do you know that word, dopamine?
Yeah.
Every time you get a little ping on your phone, every time you get a little hit on your email, that gives you a little woohoo in your brain. And so many of us, me included, I have to fight this, are addicted to distraction. And we spend lots of hours doing nothing. A lot of us don't want to do hard things because we're afraid we're going to feel embarrassed if it doesn't work out. Or I'm just scared in general. And even on a harder level, some of us are very nervous about feeling shame. And so I don't want to do hard things. And all of those are reasons, but not the reason why you shouldn't risk doing hard things, so that you can understand what you can do. So I'm going to encourage you to really figure out your why. The reason I'm showing you this picture is because this is me talking to a young girl about your age. And can you tell how that girl feels?
Scared.
She was so scared. She was almost crying. Now, I didn't tell her she had to get in that glider. And you can see, those are the gliders. And she's deciding. She's already in the glider. But she's deciding if she's going to be able to do it. Now, I'm not even expecting that this child or this person would be a pilot. But what I was hoping is that in this experience, she would understand that she could do hard stuff, that she could overcome fear. And so this is one of my whys. My sons are my why, but this is one of my whys. Talking to kids and going, look what you can do. And so we talked, and guess what she did? She went up. She went up. Did she become a pilot? No. Did she go into space?
No.
Or did she do the aerospace? No, that's not what she wants to do. She's an artist. But when she came down, she said, I feel taller inside. Have you ever felt that way? Like when you're proud of you? Like, I felt so proud of you guys doing that in English. I was so impressed that you got up here and did that in English. I felt like, were you taller when you got done? Like, look what I just did. That was a good thing. So I have some ideas about how to do hard stuff. Can I talk to you for 4 more minutes? Do you have 4 more minutes? Okay. So here are my ideas for you. First of all, you have to figure out your why. And your whys will change. See, my whys were my boys. My whys were learning how to be a better Sophia ambassador. My why was when I was a teacher. Your whys will change, but you got to keep thinking of your whys. And here's some ideas. They may or may not help. The first one is you should surround yourself with people who you respect, admire, and who are ahead of you. So I always look for people who are living their life in a way that I really admire, and I go become friends with them. And I look for people who know more than I do, and I learn from them. Here's the next thing. Listen to podcasts, videos, and read books that inspire you. I'm not talking about YouTube videos of kitties. Not talking about that. And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying right now you live in a world that's no other. You can listen to podcasts, read books, watch videos. Avail yourself of that. Here's the other thing. Here's a brain hack. Let me try to explain this to you. You know neuroscience? You know the word neuroscience? Okay. It turns out that our brain is wired for negative. Let me give you an example. You go through the day, you talk to 20 people. You have 19 really fun conversations. And then you have one conversation with someone and it's negative. They say something to you and it makes you feel embarrassed or you're ticked off. When you go home or you talk to your friend, which one do you talk about? The 19 good or the one bad? The one bad. And here's the reason why. Our brains are wired for negative. Negative is like Velcro. Do you know that word in Hebrew? Velcro? Can someone say that word in Velcro? Velcro's this. I have some. That's Velcro. Velcro. Yeah? What is it? Scotch. Scotch? Like Scotch tape? Yeah. Okay. So, our brains are wired for Scotch. And Teflon for good. But you can change your brain chemistry, and here's an easy hack. Do you know that word, brain hack? Do you know hack? Yeah. Okay. Here's the hack. When you have a good experience, sit with that for 5 seconds. So you have a good conversation with someone, or someone gives you a compliment. Go ahead and let that soak in for 5 seconds, and mindfully do that. When you go home that night, remember how that felt. That will begin to change your brain in a different way. Here's another one. Stop wasting time. Stop the endless amount of wasting your life. Because guess what? You have one life. And you don't know if you have tomorrow, and I don't know if I have it. So how do we have time to waste on YouTube watching 30, 40 minutes, scrolling endlessly on our Facebook, on our Twitter, and on our Instagram? How do we have that? You only have one life. Stop wasting. Finally, start walking towards your goal. What if I was just 1% better every day? Not 20% better, just a little better. So finally, Here's my meme for you. Does that translate? Does that translate? Do you need to do that in Hebrew? No. I want you to know that you matter a lot. And I want to thank you for the opportunity.